ಸಂಸಾರದಾವಾ ನಲಲಿದಲೋಕ ಪ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಗಣತ್ವಂ ಸಂಸಾರದಾವಾ ನಲಲಿದಲೋಕ ಪ್ರಣಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಗಣತ್ವಂ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಸ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಗುಣನವಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣರವಿಂದಂ ಪ್ರಾಪ್ತಸ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣ ಗುಣನವಸ್ಯ ವಂದೇ ಗುರು ಶ್ರೀಚರಣರವಿಂದಂ No repeat. महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसोरसेना रोमाञ्चकाम्पा सुतरङ्गा बाजो वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यानाना शृङ्गारतान्मन्दिरमजनादो युक्तस्य भक्तं च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादा स्वादान्न तृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् कृतैव तृप्तिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपास्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् निकुञ्जयुनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्याय यायालिभियुक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाशात् अतिवल्लभास्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन्द समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तास्तथा भाव्यत एव साद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोजा प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन् सुवास्यं तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् संसारदावानललितलोका त्राणाय कारुण्यगणगणत्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणर्णवस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् 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 नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधे जयो जगन्नाथा जयो बलदेवा जयो सुभद्रमा जयो सुदर्शना जयो सीताराम जयो सीताराम जयो सीताराम जयो लक्ष्मण हनुमान जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladala Dadaine Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha Shilatanka Nakalae Ito Nasimha Parato Nasimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimha Paher Nasimha Trudaer Nasimha Narasimha Madim Charanam Prapade Tava Karakamalavare Nakam Abhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
भक्ति विघ्ननाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्ति शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो ए अभिलाषी राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो हे अभिलाषी जे तुम्हारा शरण लो तारा वांछ पूर्ण होय। कृपा करी करो तारे वृंदावनवासी मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो आस नयने हरि बोसादा योगाला रूपरासी Hina Krishna dase ko ye namora hoy. Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye nabasi. Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye nabasi. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Yani kani cha papani brahmahatyadikani cha tani tani pranashanti pradakshina pade pade. Yani kani cha papani brahmahatyadikani cha tani tani pranashakshena pade pade. Yani kani cha papani brahmahatyadikani cha tani tani pranashanti pradakshina pade pade. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Bestow mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavana. My desires also grant me residence in the precious groves of Sri Vrindavana town. Thus within my vision I shall behold the beautiful person Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the Karho dance of the Vraja. Please give me the privilege devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for supplication of the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or the literature in pursuance of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna when the auspicious ritualistic activities, offering the Vedas as fruity activities, karma, ganda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glory of the holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as thy trees who can fulfill to everyone, and they are full of compassion for fallen conditioned souls. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Jeto dharma narjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chantrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akari Bahuta Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Disham Yaha Janina Nuragaha Trinatapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Amanatena Kirtanya Sadaharihi Na Thanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishvare Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stithaturi Satisham Vichintaya Nayanam Kaladashuru Daraya Vadanam Katkata Rudaya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Vapurkata Tavanama Grahane Bhavishati Yuga itam nimishena chakshusha pravisha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name Ashri Shava Padratam Pinnastumam Atarshanam marmhatam karotu va yatha tatha va vitatatu lampato matprananatha susa eva na paraha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and distinguishes the life of far conditional life of previous birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads a rays and a benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases ocean transcendental bliss and enables to fully taste the nectar for which you're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone grants all benediction to human beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate to have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strongest tree. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, not do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Sahamarjananda, I'm an eternal servitor. Yet somehow I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of the lotus feet. O my Lord, while my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant the holy name, when will my voice choke up, when will the hairs of my body stand and a recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling of separation, I'm considered a moment to be like a great millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Mangala Charanam prayers ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Sarasate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachate Desha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhani Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryochara Premadya Shurupa Nuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinadarine Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Bhakrokurshoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipalambara Sambodhe Padam Bhujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Sajanapriya Vaishnava Savabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupishcha Kripa Sindhupyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurateshe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakham Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Srato Bangor Mamamanda Matirgati Masarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vindaranya Kalpajumadaha Shimadra Nagara Singhasanasto Shimadrata Shila Govinda Devo Prishtaripi Seva Mano Samarami Shiman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsiva Tatastitaha Karsham Vinu Saner Gopir Gopinata Shri Yestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai Shri Mangala Charanam prayers Ki Jai Shri Brahma Samhita prayers Ki Jai Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Satmasukha Pariksha Lakshavriteshu Surabhir Apiparayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasam Paramasevyamanam Govinda Vedum Kavanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Parharvatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kantarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shopam Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chantakara Savanamadavam Shri Ranangadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tripanga Lalitam Yata Prakasham Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Anganyasya Sakalindriya Vrittimanti Pashanti Panti Karayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chimmaya Satujala Vikrahasya Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Manantarupam Adyam Purana Prusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durabam Adurabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo Vayuratapi Manaso Munipangavanam Sopyasti Yat Prapada Simya Vichinta Tattve Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitum Jagatanta Kotim Yachaktirasti Jagatanta Chayayatanta Antantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Pavitatiyo Manujastateva Samprapya Rupam Himasanayana Bhusha Suktaryam Eva Nikama Pratitaistuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananta Chimmaya Rasa Patipavitapis Tarbiya Eva Nijarupta Yakalavi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churuta Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundam Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murtishu Kalanyamena Tishtam Nanavatarama Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhava Paramapumamyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Go ahead. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with a figure of beauty tinged with hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of the transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, he is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tip of the toe of his lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamashundara, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions.
Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Janamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pracharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskati Rasatarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, just as a preliminary thing, I want to go over text 35 of the Brahma Samhita. Ekopya Soda Chayatam Jagadanda Kotim Yas Chaktirasti Jagadanda Jaya Yadantan Antarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Madhipurasham Tamaham Bhajami. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. Now, do you understand what this verse means? Anybody want to try? Explain what this verse actually means. Anybody? It's a very important verse because it explains the mathematics in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the mathematics are like this. 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 minus 1 equals 1. Now in our world, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 1 minus 1 equals 0. But in the spiritual world, 1 plus 1 equals 1, and 1 minus 1 equals 1. It's a different mathematics there. And what does that mean? That means that Krishna is always one, and that's why it says he is an undifferentiated entity. There's no difference between Krishna and his body. Now, is there a difference between us and our body? What do you think? Yes. So this is why it's so hard for people to understand Krishna. We have this duality between our body and our soul. Krishna doesn't have that duality. He's completely one with his body and his soul are non-different. And he is the energetic, and he's the energy. So the energy is the source. Energetic is the manifestation of the source. In all these different points, we are different than the body. We are, in one sense, the energy, and the energetic. There's evidence to prove that we are not different, but ultimately the real source of the energy is Krishna. So in a bigger sense, we are different. So here we see there are many differences between Krishna and the living entities. There are similarities also, but there's fundamental differences. And the number one fundamental difference is we are never this body, but Krishna is never different than his body. Okay. So because of that, it's hard to understand the oneness of Krishna and because of the duality between our body and ourself as the soul. Then it says, there's no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. Well, do we create millions of worlds? No, we don't. We don't even create one world. So that's a major difference, again, between us and Krishna. We might create a very tiny world called our house or our car. We don't even create the car. And we don't exactly create the house either. But you might consider the house your domain. But Krishna is creating millions of worlds. But his potency remains inseparable. That means his potency is never diminished. We do a little bit of work and our potency gets diminished. See? And then it says, all the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe. Well, now this is impossible for us to even imagine. That is, that he contains all the universes, not just one universe, all of the universes in his Virat Rupa body. So that's, I mean, we all we contain is some blood, urine, and mucus. So now we're getting into major differences between Krishna and ourselves. And then it says that he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe. Well, that there's no way we could in any way claim to be present in every atom of the universe, and that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. So if we understand this one verse of the Brahma Samhita, we can see the gigantic, unbelievable difference between ourselves and Krishna. Now we understand how stupid people are that complain, that proclaim that they are God. They can't even emulate one of these things. So these people who claim they're God, or their disciples who claim they're pundit or is God, they're completely an illusion. It's not only blasphemous, it's silly, it's laughable, it's nonsense, because they have no understanding who is God and what are his what you would call uh, transcendental qualities. So that's why we're studying Brahma Samhita, and we're studying Bhagavad Gita, and we're studying Ishopanishad, and we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We're trying to learn what all these unique qualities are of Krishna. If you just learn this one verse, Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kutam Chaktirasti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta Anantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. Yeah, his name is Govinda, the protector of the cows and the brahmanas. And he has a peacock feather, and he is always surrounded by loving devotees, and he plays the flute, and he's extremely charming. No one is as charming as he is. So we should learn this one verse and get into the mystery of this one verse. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time, such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. So there's no one else that can fit this explanation of who God is, that eliminates everyone. Therefore, Krishna is unique supreme personality of Godhead. That's what we're aiming at, to understand his uniqueness that no one else can emulate. Then you actually get serious about worshiping Krishna. Otherwise, people try and give a pejorative vision of Krishna. That's a beautiful word, pejorative. To make him lesser than what he actually is. You look it up?
It says expressing contempt or disapproval.
That's it. Contempt, that's the right word. Because they're envious. So they try and make Krishna, try and bring him down on the mundane level so that his divinity is laughed at or destroyed or mocked. Right? Okay, so that's just one verse of the Brahma Samhita. You could write a whole book on that one verse. That's how profound this Vedic literature is. Okay, so now we're continuing 15th chapter, verse 16. It says, Dro imo purusho loke, shara chakshara eva cha, kshara sarvani bhutani, kutasto kshara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. So fallible means those who make mistakes, and infallible means those who never make mistakes. And in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Obviously, everyone in the material world is fallible, or almost everyone, except for some pure devotees. Okay, who's going to read the verse?
Purport. As already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vasudeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here, the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities, who are innumerable, can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally...
Fallible and the infallible, not the fallible.
The living
fallible and the infallible.
Yeah, fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta, And the Sanskrit words given here, Shara, Sarvani, Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity.
See, now that's a big phrase. It's not that they have no individuality, they have no disunity. You can remember
Disunity.
that. That's it. You want to preach to people who say, well, living entities don't have any, all living entities have individuality, but there's no disunity, which means they are one with Krishna's desire. And one lady yesterday asked me a question. She said, how do we surrender to Krishna? I said, it's very easy. You just follow his instructions. How do you surrender to anybody? You just follow what they say. So it's not complicated. Then the next question, what are his instructions? I said, well, that's pretty easy too. There's 4 things you should never do, and there's 4 things you should do. See, these are, so why? Because there's no disunity. We agree with everything Krishna says, and we not only we agree, we actually follow. That means we really are serious about being surrendered to the Lord. Okay, go ahead.
They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation.
There it is, agreeable to the purpose of creation. Now, what is the purpose of creation? That's what we have to ask. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita in different places. Krishna explains that the real purpose of the universe, well, there's 2 purposes. One is to give the living entities a chance to engage in sense gratification. And then the other purpose is to give the living entities an opportunity to free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. They have 2 possibilities for the creation. Now, if you use the body and all the assets that you get for sense gratification, then you stay in the material world and suffer unnecessarily. If you try and follow Krishna's instructions and always remain faithful to Krishna, you go back to Godhead. So therefore we see there is a purpose of life. Now, if you read modern philosophers, they'll say there's no purpose in life. They also say we don't really understand material creation, right? So why would anyone want to go to those people and try and learn, even learn about matter? They don't understand matter correctly, which is shocking because they claim they understand matter. But then, you go to college, and the first day they explain, well, we don't really understand what matter is. So we can tell you a lot about matter, but we don't really understand what it is. So why would anyone want to go and hear what they have to say? It's all nonsense, right? So in the chapter 3, verse number 8, what's it say here? It says, perform your duty, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, there are many pseudo-meditators, false meditators, who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage and great professional men, who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore It was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So-called renunciation for the purpose of maintenance is never approved by the Lord, nor by any religious scripture. After all, one has to maintain his body and soul together by some work. Work should not be given up capriciously without purification of materialistic propensities. Anyone who is in the material world is certainly possessed of the impure propensity for lording it over material nature, or in other words, for sense gratification. Such polluted propensities have to be cleared. Without doing so, through prescribed duties, one should never attempt to become a so-called transcendentalist, renouncing work and living at the cost of others. Hari Bol. Okay, so yeah, so this purpose of life, this is explained also in the 15th chapter. 15th chapter, verse number 736. Okay. All right. Yes, so it says Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. That means there's oral and oral. There are two orals. One is spelled O-R-A-L and the other is spelled A-U-R-A-L. They're both pronounced exactly the same. So, can you tell me what the difference is between the two? Although they're spelled the same, they're spelled differently, but pronounced exactly the same. Anybody?
Oral is speaking.
How do you spell it?
O-R-A-L.
Yes.
Oral is hearing.
Yes. Very good. So, it says here, Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. That's what we're doing every day. We're learning by oral reception, hearing, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from the source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. Whoa. So there's hearing as a human being, real human being, not a phony human being, and hearing as a hog. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one simply speculate academically, that one should simply speculate academically. That's what they teach in school, how to speculate, so-called academically. It's just like Aristotle, he said, man is the measure of everything. That's not true, that man is the measure of everything. God is the measure of everything, the supreme absolute personality of Godhead. Man is fallible. We make mistakes all the time. We made mistakes. The biggest mistake we made was walking away from Krishna and wanting to come to the material world. And then the second mistake is we want to stay in the material world. Just like one time Brahma committed a real sinful activity, and he was cursed to become a hog. Now, like a hog, he was enjoying the little hoglets and his hog wives. And then Indra came and told him, look, it's time to come back. We need you to manage the universe. He said, no, I'm very happy the way I am. So Even Brahma got in trouble, right? He was happy eating stool and enjoying with the hog mother, the hog daughter, the hog wife, the hog this, the hog that, and eating stool. You see, that's how dangerous material life is. You can say, no, 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 I don't want to go back to God. I'm happy eating stool here. Say, no, it's Brahma. Yeah. Yeah. Narada got into a little bit of illusion also. But, okay. Now, but we should never criticize Brahma because oftentimes he gets into these situations to give us an example. Because he is the founder of our sampradaya, right? And of course, there are different Brahmas, right? It's a titular position. Okay, so then it says, in the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the supreme absolute truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that one has to surrender there, all his speculation for many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Useless waste of time. All the speculation in this life, previous lives, and the future lives, it's just a waste of time. Now, is there any proof that they teach kids in school to speculate? Can you find proof? So let's look that up. Is speculation a part of, let's say, college, what do you call it? College study. Yeah, okay. Is speculation a technique for understanding knowledge? Of course, Darwin said it was. I've read that several times. Huh?
It says, it's time to admit college is driven by speculation, not investment. One of the most popular tropes among career advisors, guidance counselors, school officials, and college recruiters today is that going to college is an investment. As more and more options for work, experience, and education outside of the higher education cartel crop up, those pushing the college option on young people are forced to fall back on telling the young that though it may look costly now, it will pay off in the future, like their housing crisis.
Okay, that's not answering the question. Go ahead. Yeah, that's bogus speculation. Go ahead.
They're saying this is scientific speculation is a pragmatic approach to.
Pragmatic means it's a very fundamental or baseline approach. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So here
practical approach.
Practical approach. Yes. So here. I think they're saying that this chapter presents the definition of speculation in terms of concepts of evidence. The author has introduced, in other words, the definition is used to examine three popular views about scientific speculation. One, never speculate, that is Newton. Speculate freely but test, that is Wavell.
What? Speculate what?
Speculate freely but test.
Oh, okay. You have to do some experimentation.
Yeah.
So Newton said never speculate.
Never speculate.
Right, because he believed in God. That was his mistake in the scientific world. Yeah, go ahead.
And then the first option was Newton's, which was never speculate. The second option was speculate freely but test. So that's by Whewell, Whewell. And then the third theory is speculate freely even without testing. That's
So
Feyerabend.
which is the most prevalent?
It's I think Feyerabend, Feyerabend. That's the person.
Wow. You see, this is what they teach. They teach you to speculate freely.
And then
That was Darwin. He said. He specifically said he speculated to come up with his theory of origin of species. You see, they're teaching speculation in school. And what did we just read? We read that speculation is not bona fide at all. Yeah, so it says here.
so in this paper they're continuing to say actually all three views are rejected, and in their place a pragmatic position suggested by the works of James Maxwell is defended. I mean, this is a paper that according to the later, whether and how a scientist should speculate depends on the aims of the investigation and on standards, both epistemic and non-epistemic, different from those utilized for experimental proof. So there's some.
So it depends on the aims. So if you aim to mislead people, you must speculate freely. Right? You can mislead them perfectly like that, especially young students. Perhaps, maybe, why not? Let's assume that that's what they're doing, and then the teacher explains that, well, we don't really understand what life is. We don't really understand what matter is. We don't really understand what death is. We don't really understand. We don't understand anything. But you can speculate and try and figure things out like that. So this is complete nonsense. The whole modern world is based on this type of nonsense. Now, the biggest speculation is if you turn on the news. Almost all the news is speculation. Well, there's a possibility that Trump might win the presidency. And another person, well, no, that's not possible. No, he's not going to win it all. He's going to get indicted, and then he'll get so overwhelmed by the court cases that he won't be able to run for it. So all day long they're speculating like that. Do you ever listen to news? What does it say? What?
All the bad things happening around the world.
Yeah, but then they bring these experts in. They say,
Yeah.
well, what do you think is Russia going to begin its major invasion of Ukraine? And one guy comes in. Well, it looks like they're going to do, but we're not exactly sure. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try, but well, we don't really know. Yeah. Yes.
Sideways.
Yeah.
The whole train fell down and millions of people died. It just flopped over.
Yeah, but there's no speculation in that. Yeah. So. Yeah, and then they say, will Modi win the next election? And everyone will come up and, well, I don't think he will, or someone else will come up. Well, I think he might. So this is all speculation, you see. Opinion what? Yes. Everyone gives their opinion. Yeah. 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 Is it, are they going to win the World Series? Well, there's a good possibility. Maybe this team or that team. Okay. So here you see, speculation is a major part of modern education. Eh, But they teach you to speculate. They teach you to speculate. Yeah.
He told teachers, staff development only, they put this critical thinking as a topic, Maharaj.
Critical thinking. What does that mean?
It is like,
How critical are you? So one meaning of critical is you criticize. But that's not what they mean by critical thinking. Yes.
Maharaj, like last month or so, I'm not sure if this is speculation, but one of the teachers put like a poll sort of like who will win the Seattle like football, I think.
Yeah,
Like
the
some-
Seahawks.
Yeah, Seahawks, the football competition. So then everyone had to put
Guess.
yeah.
They had to guess, right? That's speculation. Okay, so you see, the Vedic system is no speculation is not allowed. Either you know or you don't know. It's not that you can speculate, right? Now you might have a theory, but if it's not backed up by Shastra, then it's speculation. Okay. The Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures. This is the 15th chapter, 20th verse, the purport. And one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in his transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there's no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he or she may be, in the estimation of the common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anaga, of which Arjuna is addressed, is significant. Anaga, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities. Then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Well, I saw this happen many times. One time, one devotee came up to me and said, Prabhu, do you want to raise the money to build a new temple? I said, yes. He said, I have the perfect solution for you. I said, really? I said, what is it? Multi-level marketing. I said, multi-level marketing. What kind of multi-level marketing are you talking about? He says, Amway. I said, okay. I said, is this something you're doing? He said, yes. And I'm getting checks every week are coming in. He said, all you have to do is get your downline. I said, what's a downline? You have to convince somebody else to work under your authority or your position. And then they will have to give you, they'll have to buy products and then sell them. And then you get checks. I said, and he said, and because you are like the guru here, all the Indians that come here, they all have money. You make them all your downline, and then you'll get all these checks every month, and you'll be able to build the temple. And I looked at him, I said, do you think I've been here for like 10, 15 years, every day doing Aarti, waking up early, chanting rounds, going out on Sankirtan, distributing books. You think the purpose is to have downline? You think that, after 10 years, there's a certain number of Indians and other people that come to this temple. You think that I should exploit them by telling them you should be my downline? I said, are you crazy? I said, and I said, look, if you even go to one person in this community and try and make him your downline, I'm going to throw you out of this temple. You'll never be allowed to come back here. You have to go somewhere else and do your nonsense. See, it's how crazy people are. And this guy's an initiated devotee and a brahmana. And he's trying to convince me to trick all the people in the congregation to become the downline. As if that is a solution for building a temple. This is crazy. This is Looney Tune nonsense. So here it says that the first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature. As one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he or she becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. Now, if you understand just this little paragraph, you'll see that it is a description of almost everybody in the material world. They want to dominate material nature, and once they get a little bit of success in doing that, they get so attached to the material things they've developed that they refuse to let go. And I know initiated devotees that are like that. And they're always in trouble because they dominate some little thing, just like a crab. I don't know if you know the behavior of a crab that lives under. They'll be waiting somewhere, and some little creature will come. They grab it, right? And then they choke it to death. Then they bring it into their little cubby hole or cave, right? And they protect it, and they eat it little by little. That's a crab. That's the example of people who want to dominate. It can be jewelry, it can be gold, it can be anything like that. And once they get a hold of it, they'll never let go, right? And they'll fight for it, and they'll spend years fighting for it, and they'll waste their life completely. Gold is compared to yellow stool. Did you know that? In Sanskrit, they call it yellow stool. The complete opposite of what other people think. So there are so many stupid people in this world, actually really dumb, stupid people. They think that by having gold, they're actually going to be a success. But actually, gold is yellow stool. And wherever people hoard gold, that's where Kali Yuga acts. That's where Kali acts. And there will be argument, there'll be fighting, there'll be murder. All of these things happen because of gold. Right? And it could be anything, not only gold, it could be anything. But gold is especially mentioned in the Vedas as the cause of strife. Right? Okay, so we'll come back to the verse today. Let's see. Anyway, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? You notice they're selling gold all the time on the television, the radio, everywhere. Get the bars, yeah. Yeah, people want everything. Yeah, go ahead.
Definition of critical thinking.
Yeah.
Because even we need critical thinking to discern between what's matter, what's
Yes.
so critical thinking is needed, but what in the name of critical thinking they
Give the microphone.
So the education system, they also try to say the critical thinking, as I was looking at the definition of the critical thinking, is to analyze all dimensions of the truth, and so that you can make an informed decision. So that's the definition of critical thinking, so that you don't just take, let's say, somebody's opinion and
Yeah,
then
but-
just
but their understanding of the truth is completely wrong.
Hmm.
Like their understanding of the truth, America for Americans, right? Or MAGA, make America great again, right? So this is a type of philosophy, right? Now, is it the correct philosophy? Not really. It just creates divisions. So I had a phone call 2 days ago. It was a very interesting phone call. This person that I know very rarely comes to the temple, but I've known him for a long time. He is asking me to find a lawyer for him who does not like white people and who is willing to be very aggressive in law as a lawyer to protect his son from being thrown out from this high quality and exclusive home that's part of a, what do you call it, the homeowners association. He said, and all the big guys in the homeowners association are these white people. This man is Indian, right? And he says he's got to hate white people so that he'd be very aggressive. I said, well, I'm one of those white guys myself. I said. He said, well, no, I don't consider you like that, he says. So he's talking about this hatred, and I got to find him a lawyer who hates white people, so he'll be very aggressive and protect his son from being thrown out. And these people have gone crazy, And the other day, there was a lady who was talking to me. She was telling me, I want you to be present when my daughter gets married, in July. And, when my daughter was born, I brought her here to the temple, and you gave her a blessing. So she wants you to be present there, And then, in the end, she tells me, and she's marrying some white guy. I said, okay. I said, is that good or bad? He said, well, it would have been better if she married one of us, I said, but I'm one of those white guys, too. And she kept quiet. this is what's going on. See? So, and then previously, I'd be talking to a group of Indian people, and one person said, "Oh, these Goras, they're all nonsense people. Goras means white people." So, you see how this prejudice is there all over the world, even amongst devotees.
There is another way to look at Maharaj. I think they've considered you as pure Indian now.
No, they think I'm like a Punjabi, The Punjabis, a lot of them look white, right? Anyway, God bless people, I hope. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, you don't have to watch television or go to movies. Life is a movie. You'll see more crazy things in the real world than you do on the television and the movies, right? People are more crazy than the actors are.
Do I sing
Chant
Hare
Hare
Krishna?
Krishna first.
He's already out.
Oh, okay. If he's going to do it, okay, good.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Panamui Savadana Ate
Bando Mui Savadana Mate
Grahara Prasade Bai E Baba Tariya Jai
Janara Prasade Bai E Baba Soriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Ho Jaha Hoy De
Krishna Prabhi Hoya Hote
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitat Kariya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Akya
Arna Koriyo Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Guru Charane Rati Ese Utama Gati
जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्वा आशा
प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा
चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्यज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशिता प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहाँ रचरिता श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु लोकेनाथ लोकेर जीवाना हा हा प्रभु कर दया देह मोरे पदचया एबे गाइस गो सुक्ली भुवाना शील प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नित्यानामिने
कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नित्यानामिने
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या विषतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्या विषतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवचरित गौरा भक्त वृंदा
प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवचरित
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Nitai Gaura Nitai Gauri Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
The lotus feet are our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotion. I bow down to this lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is perfection, fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge.